Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the stream. It is I, DigiDriver, welcoming you to Sunday, June 11th, 2023. It's about 3:19 p.m. on the Eastern Seaboard, and I am back in MSFS for some scenery dev ops. Good afternoon. I hope you're doing very well today. I have plans to jump into Blender and continue my work on the custom beacon tower that I've been building for Plymouth, which is Kilo Papa Yankee Mike. I've been working on that off and on for about the past two and a half, 3 weeks now. Unfortunately, I wasn't feeling the best about 2 weeks ago. I'm slowly getting back to where I want to be. But at the same time, if I'm not improving to the extent or to the pace that I'd like to, I'll probably go see a doc sometime this week or next. Dealing with a few things, details aside, I feel okay today, and I do feel like getting my hands dirty with some Blender work and with maybe some object placement. Maybe we'll see. But welcome aboard and good afternoon. Hopefully you're having a very good day today. And for those of you that are watching that are brand new, I am a flight sim enthusiast turned scenery developer. I do still stream flight simming. It's not like I've given up on flying on stream altogether. In fact, I did a stream yesterday when I flew in X-Plane 11 and X-Plane 12. But in general, you're usually going to catch me streaming scenery development, building sceneries, creating custom objects for use in the sim, and talking about upcoming releases and plans that I have. One of which, of course, is Plymouth Municipal Airport. It's a general aviation airport in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Now, you might be confused why I'm talking about scenery dev but firing up Flight Sim. Well, that's because I use Flight Sim as kind of ambient sounds in the background while I spend time creating objects or placing them in the sim. I know you can also do things like, like listen to copyright-free music or even have a separate channel for actual music that's on the radio, and then you can just have your VODs not capture that audio so that you don't get in trouble with DMCA strikes. But at the same time, I think I like this. I'm not focusing on the music so much, and I like to just listen to, birds or the wind, and occasionally have some IRL traffic fly overhead. But let me just pick a token airplane to put at the airport. Nothing ginormous. Something more like, you know what? Let's pick the category here. Let's go to propellers. Let me put the G1000, or even just the regular Cessna Skyhawk, and we'll put it on the ground at Plymouth. Not on the runway, at that parking spot. I don't know what the weather is going to look like over there, so we're going to see. And I think in general, it almost doesn't matter what the weather is like because you can always just disable live weather. And I think it used to do that, at least disable real time when you were doing scenery dev in the sim. But let's go ahead and load in. So give me just a moment to get my separate screen loaded so I can see chat. And here we go. So I have heard rumblings of something big going on with Microsoft Flight Simulator, and apparently there's either a humongous update coming out or there's going to be a new platform for MSFS, literally MSFS 2024. But I'm not sure, and I'm not really going to speculate too much about that. I am going to keep doing scenery dev until I can figure out what to do or how to transition into anything in the future like that. So let's go ahead, focus on Plymouth, and let me fire up my Blender once this is loaded reasonably. It does look mostly cloudy today, but I don't think it's going to be raining over there unless I'm wrong. So let's load the scenery, which should get rid of the pushback crew, and this usually takes a few seconds to load in, usually no more than a minute. I highly doubt that it will. And there you go. Okay. So essentially, I've been working on Plymouth for the past 8 or so months, and I've got most of the main west ramp rendered, including these spots, but I think I'm going to have to start coloring these things. I might do that during the evening on one night if I don't feel wiped by work. I will probably also change the color of these taxi lanes from white to yellow and maybe try some effects or put some textures on top of them so that they don't look so clean. I'm not necessarily worried about that, but I do know I also want to work on these buildings as well to have them open from both sides. I have reason to believe that this is a very inaccurate rendition. It's reasonable, but I'd like to be closer to real life, and I think real life means they open from both sides. Or these are staggered and one opens one side here and the other opens one side here, and then it kind of just jumps back and forth. I don't know. I have to find out more, but that's not a feature or a concern right now. My biggest concern is getting rid of this guy. This is a default beacon tower, and I don't know how big this tower is. Sorry. I don't know how big this tower is, but it's not a realistic representation of the beacon tower at Plymouth. So I've been working on trying to render a custom tower myself, which will be more realistic. And then, of course, there's rendering the terminal building. That's basically going to be the cherry on the sundae if I can get that to look correct. So let's pick a spot where I can be, and let me do some things. I'm probably going to disable multiplayer traffic, but I'll keep the live traffic in. And then I'll get started. Now, this being a Sunday afternoon, it is highly possible and very likely that we're going to have IRL traffic flying into and out of Boston, which I think is that way. Let's see. How right am I? Yeah, actually, it's probably closer that way, but that's the point. Otherwise, we're just going to have some wind in the background, and I am going to stop what I'm doing and just make sure that my sound levels in the sim are good. The ambient noise sounds good, but it sounds low. I'm going to go ahead and increase volume. But at the same time, the volume for the sim is maxed out, so I don't know if I should increase my overall volume. I'll try that a little bit, just about maybe 2.5 decibels up, and then I think that should be fine. Hopefully that won't overpower my microphone, but we'll find out pretty quick. Okay, good enough, folks. Let me go ahead and fire up Blender, and we will get back to work on the beacon. And I can show you the progress that I've made so far and what I intend to do today. I will probably stream for maybe 2 hours today, and we'll see where we are afterwards. Chill Maze, my friend, thank you so much for stopping in today. It is a privilege having you here. Make yourself at home, grab a nice drink, and check out what we're doing. We're working on a custom beacon tower for Plymouth. I hope that you're having a very, very great day. Sir, I have been working on some scenery, but I've also been working on my general aviation chops. I did hear about the big surprise. Apparently, there's something going on where Microsoft is going to be releasing another version of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I welcome the updates to the graphics and probably the AI. I know that some people are probably going, wait a minute, I just finished buying MSFS 2020, like, and there's going to be a new sim. What's going to happen to the old sim? I'm not worried. I don't necessarily know if a brand new version of the sim is a good idea, but that might show just how little I know about the whole thing. Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't blame you if you felt confused or a little bit kind of like some kind of way. Like, okay, what does this mean for MSFS 2020? What does this mean for all the add-ons? What does this mean for all the scenery? I'm a scenery developer. What does this mean for me? So I'm going to take it right now, one one discussion at a time. And I don't want to overthink it, because if recent experience has proved anything to me, it's when I start to overthink stuff, I start to fry my brain. And I literally do not have the patience for that right now. I want to enjoy the sim and I want to enjoy whatever's coming, but I do not want to freak out. There is no need for it. It literally makes no sense for me. But let's not mince words. The graphics that I've seen so far for MSFS 2024 look phenomenal. And I'm glad that I saw even one screenshot. So, is what it is. And we're going to take everything with a grain of salt. So, we'll see. Now, I'm going to do this as relatively efficiently and quickly as I can. I don't want to think too much about the shapes that I'm adding because I think I can clean them up, but I also don't want to undercook the potato. This needs to be a small shape. I didn't even take a look at the stuff like wildfire or agricultural stuff or ambulance stuff, so those are things that I think I might take a look at a little bit later. If I go for a flight while I'm on stream and we fly anywhere, you know, a considerable distance away, I might even play the video on stream. See what it looks like. So let me start by working on what these things should look like. I'm creating a beam or a cross beam, which is going to go on one of these things. And I will probably put this. Oh, I know where it's going. I just need to position it. So I am creating some of the supports which are going to prop this tower up. And I think what I can probably do is extrude edges so that it looks like a beam. But at the same time, if those beam edges are super sharp and super flat, I don't think most people are going to complain about it. So I'm going to give myself permission to create some really flat edges because these are going to be coming in at angles. That also means that you're going to be seeing the inside of these things. So I'm not going to be able to do back face culling because there will literally be back faces, visible to the naked eye. So pretend this is a beam or an I-beam, and then we're going to, oh, I forgot that it turned on gravity. We're going to join this. Okay, beautiful. All right. I don't care that it's touching it, that's inside this other piece of metal. I just want to know whether or not that's going to be realistic. This has to basically be on two sides. So first thing I'm going to do is probably put this in the middle, or try to put this in the middle and see how big this is. Then we're going to divide the overall width by 2. So that's 3.6 meters. Yeah, I haven't done any math in my head yet, so we're going to see what this looks like once it's done. That's about halfway through on both sides. I like 3.6 because it seems like it makes sense from a length perspective, but there is about probably about 6 to 7 inches between rivets. So I'm going to add like, wait, should I add or should I take away? Actually, I think this is a pretty good length, which means each one of these is going to be 1.8 meters, and a meter is 3 feet. So does that make sense? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1.8. 2 meters is 6 feet. So yeah, my calculations may be off, and I might have to scale everything accordingly, but for my first try, I'm not going to worry about it. We're going to keep it around 1.8 meters, and we're going to use that for one side. So that's great. I need to angle this from about the midpoint of this pylon. That's what I'll call it. And then it needs to go to about the halfway point here. So that's it. That's it. Minus 45 degrees. And then we're going to position it so that the midpoint goes here. And then the other midpoint goes here. But is that a 45-degree angle? No, I don't think so. I think if I take a look at it, it kind of looks like a 45-degree angle, but I think it's more like a 60-degree angle. So we're going to change that some more. Oh, excuse me. I need to go the other way with my numbers. Sorry. Minus 40? That might work. It might. Now, one thing that I forgot to take into consideration was that the stairs kind of give away where the landings are and where these should be in relationship to the structure. So if I take this and the point where my finger meets my hand is the midpoint, it's still a little too short. So let's make this 0.2 of a meter larger. And right around here is where I want that. That to me makes more sense. And maybe I'm wrong, but this is what I'll use. Okay. And now this is the first piece that's truly three-dimensional. And it kind of looks weird, but at the same time, it's neat. Okay. It's not perfect. I think it's still touching it just a bit. Let's add even the tiniest bit because I don't want Z fighting to happen. And I think that should be good. If I do ever choose to actually apply or create little 3D rivets for this, then that's probably going to be a good spot for it. So what are we going to call this? We're going to call this, what would we call this anyway? Well, we'll call it a structure support. And there's going to be a lot of them. Structure support is here, and we're going to duplicate it. Is there a way to duplicate without having to do copy and paste? I don't think so. It's okay, I'm not worried. But yeah, I do have to wonder whether or not that's something which is going to affect my enjoyment of MSFS 2020. Like, am I going to be concerned now that there's a brand new platform coming which is going to change my perspective on whether or not I'm going to be able to make the most out of FS 2020, because FS 2024 is coming. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think I'm worried about it. So I'm going to I'm going to enjoy myself as best I can. Also, it looks like this is actually a little bit ahead, which is probably fine from the perspective of, hey, humans built this. But I don't know if that's going to mess up my placement at the top. Should have been fine here. Let me do this. Let me play a little bit with this and see if I can push it back. Let's push this back. Just a touch. All I'm trying to do is get rid of the overlap. There we go. There we go. And this is a pretty flat shape, so I think we should be fine. Now, I just want to make sure there isn't any massive altering to the structure. I don't think so. I think I'm literally touching on points that are almost invisible to anybody that's going to be looking at this object from a hey, this is a nice look perspective. Okay. Both of them have the same coordinate for Y, so I'm happy, and both of them are fully out in front of the structure. From the perspective of how close they are without actually touching it, this is almost imperceptible. So I'm good. I'm good. And there we go. That only took me 24 minutes to get here. Ah, okay. Let me catch my breath. So I'm taking a look at the beacon as a whole, and those are probably going to be some of the only pieces on the ground or close to it that are by themselves. I'm looking at a library of photos that my good friend Eric Flight took so that I could actually have this custom tower created. The rest of them, I think, are larger pieces that when you crisscross them, it turns into a big X. Even the pieces on the back. So let me think. I think there's a philosophy for putting the rest of these pieces on, and I just have to take a look at this from a different angle. No, actually, there isn't. So the tiny pieces that we just played with, they're going to be used as one part of the X's, which basically complete all of these supports. The rest of them are going to be very large pieces. So like the 3.6 to 4 meter long metal beams which support the sides of the building, there will be some of those, and then we'll use some of the smaller pieces. So I will probably just duplicate this piece, and then we're going to create the larger piece from that. So is what we're going to do. We're going to call this large structure support 1, because this one's going to be 4 meters long based on what I've seen. And we're going to start with using it on the same side where we saw these things, and we're going to create the placement. It seems like wherever those things get set up, there is a metal slab that goes between them. I don't know that I want that much detail on the beacon tower already with all the stuff going in, so I think I'm going to forego that. The conversation that we had just now, where we talk about how there's going to be like small pieces and big pieces, I'm going to skip that. I'm going to make 2 of these that cross each other, form an X, and then that's it. And that would mean that I would be able to do this. Grab this, copy it, paste it, rename it, and then change the angle. And there you go. And now we have large structure supports 1 and 2. And what I'm probably going to do is place them immediately above this piece, and then one of them above it again. So we're going to take some liberties here with the exact positioning and placement of both of these structures. But given that they have to touch all the edges, I think these pieces need to be bigger. So let me see. Okay. First step is placement. They need to wind up touching the edges above where the other this rectangular piece goes. So 4.8, is that too much? I might have to bring that back a bit. I might. Maybe 4.6. No, 4.6 is not enough. So 4.7 it is. 4.7 meters beam to beam, and based on the placement, this looks pretty good. Right, 4.7 here as well. And there we go. What I don't like about this is that the slab, this centerpiece, is going to shimmer and shine. I don't know if I necessarily care about that, but since I do care, at least from one perspective, I'm going to bring this one out, I think like 1/1000th or 100th of an inch. Let me see. That goes back. That's not what I want. That goes forward. That's not what I want. But let's do 8. And I don't think that was a significant change. One piece is going to show in front of another. So when we deal with things like coloring and texturing, one of them is going to show up there and the other one's not. Right now, I'm not worrying about that. But what's satisfying about this is that what's satisfying about this is that it's already beginning to take shape. And I kind of wasn't expecting to feel as motivated to keep going, but now I am. And how close is it to the actual build? That's actually pretty good. It's a little bit higher than I'd like it to be, so I'm going to grab both structures and bring them down. But otherwise, that's really good. Okay, so here we are. We've got one of these in place. I need to duplicate this again. So we're going to copy and we're going to paste both of them. And we're going to grab both of them. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to position them. And then we're going to rename them and do stuff. So there is one problem that I can see right now. The problem that I see is that the angles on these are too steep. I can probably just apply a little bit of artistic license and just say that they're a little bit closer in the sim than they are in real life. And to be honest with you, I don't think I'm that concerned with them to try to make this better. I think maybe if I remake these models in the future and I get better, or, hey, Lord willing, this company takes off and I wind up making a whole bunch of regional and municipal airports, I might have a team come back here and fix this up. But I feel like I'm more concerned about making progress instead of getting everything absolutely right. And given that I don't feel like really pushing myself too much with calculations and stuff like that, I might just accept that. But there is just enough of a what am I trying to say? There's just enough of a persnickety attitude in me. Somehow I like using that word a lot. There's just enough of a persnickety attitude in me that I like I like the idea of fixing this stuff. So if I do a 35-degree angle and keep it at maybe 4.5 or 4.4, that'll look a lot closer to real life. We could probably even do 4.2 and change the angle again, so it goes to 30. And then what happens is now this looks a lot better. And by the way, folks, in case any of you are wondering, Mrs. Digi and I are hanging together today. She is working on some new projects, getting back to her roots with some work that she likes to do. And she is hopefully looking forward to making some connections and hopefully selling some stuff soon. So I'm actually glad I did this because now I can apply the same changes to these as well. So we're going to go from 4.7 and a 40-degree angle to 4.2 and a 30-degree angle. Okay. Now, the question arises, do I need to change where the center of this is? I think the answer is no. I think because these are both centered to begin with, I can change the angle and change the length without having to mess with the placement too much, which is a welcome respite because I don't want to do too much to mess up the placements that I've already done. And now, if I take a look at the way these look, they're still not good. They're still not good. I think I need to make a compromise. I think I need to do 35 degrees instead of 30. But this is why I do what I do. Because I guess it's easier to fix the stuff now instead of going back to fix it later. Okay, I have a feeling 4.4 meters will work. At least I hope. Okay, so large structure support, let's call this one 3, and this one 4. All right, so we're going to take these, we're going to move them as a unit, and we're going to bring them down. Okay, and now when I look at these, I'm tempted to say that these look off kilter. Why is that? That's 35, that's minus 35. So the angle should be the same. Is it the placement that's off? Let me think. The placement of the bottom ones hasn't changed. So what did the top ones change? I don't know. It's probably because I moved one of them without moving the other really well. Let me try. Or I can just get rid of these two and try it again. And I'll do that. Because these two should be fine. All right, grab them both and move them up. Okay, it must have been something that I did because they both look pretty good now. I'll rename these again. And then we'll focus on the ones below them because I want to adjust the positioning. They should be about here. And then these can be, I think, right around the same place that they are, maybe a little bit lower. And there we go. There is a spot where they will um, they will have spacing between, and that's it. That's great. Okay. This ain't perfect, but we're getting close. Closer and closer with each edit. Now, all of the rest of these should probably be the same. And I think all of them will be in a similar place. What I mean is this part of the tower, this what looks like an entrance, these are made this way because I think this is the part where somebody walks in to go up the steps. Every other side is just going to have these X's supporting them. So what that means is I'm going to grab these and I think I have to turn them 90 degrees to one side or another, and then we're going to place them on the bottom here, and then we're going to put those two the same way up top. So I have to drag a piece down, at least I think I do. Let me take a look at this from the other side. Folks, give me just a moment. I'll be back shortly. Gotta take a phone call. All right, folks, I am back. Thank you for waiting for me. I am going to keep up with this tower and see how far I can get with it. Maybe in another 15, 20 minutes, I will go flying or do something else. Because I think I'm going to take this piecemeal throughout the week. I know I'm going to because there's plenty more things that I need to do, none of which are going to get done inside of inside of one stream. But just in case you guys missed my stream yesterday, number one, I usually do not stream on Saturdays, but I felt like connecting and saying hi to people and seeing if anybody would, stop by and say hello. I didn't feel like doing scenery dev yesterday. I just wanted to get into a virtual plane and go flying. And needless to say, I had more than an interesting time on stream yesterday. You can watch the VOD, it's still there. Spoiler alert, I crashed. I think it crashed twice. Well, I know it crashed once, but that was apparently because of an issue with something that I installed. And I think it might have been a bug that developed with the recent update to X-Plane 12, but now at least all the things in X-Plane 12 are behaving and functioning nicely. But for some reason, rudder control is incredibly sensitive in the G8 planes that I fly. That is a topic for a different day, so I'm not going to worry about it right now. Meanwhile, let's see, is that it? Yes, it is. Okay, I'm going to start turning these 90 degrees in this direction because I want to use them on this side. Now I should be able to grab both of these guys and move them where they need to go. And I can probably just do a general placement and then start figuring out what I want to do with them. I could probably use the origin as my center. And then with the origin as my center, I should be able to put them, oh, no. I should be able to put them wherever I want them to go and have them line up with the structure. At least that's the hope. We'll see. So, all right, can I look at this from straight on? Okay, from this angle, they look a little bit off, but they're also on the origin, so I'm not going to stress that too much. I'd like them to be a bit closer to the edge and a bit further from the other edge, so I might play with them a bit. We'll see. How will it look if I grab them both and move them just a little bit to the left? Let's see. Okay. They may not exactly be on the origin, but they're pretty close to perfectly laid on that side. And I think that's the placement that I'm going to be using for the side ones. Of course, the trick here is to get these away from the main beams. So we're playing around with X. 9, 9 is doing almost nothing. So let's do 1, 1, 0. 1, 0, 0. That's gonna jump, isn't it? Actually, no, it's not. Great. All right. I will take this in steps, and then we're going to figure out how to apply that same number change to the other side. No, that's actually pretty close. Okay. Let's get rid of the 7. Okay. So those only, let me think, 3 thousandths of an inch? I can't even tell. I can't even tell. I know it's not touching that, so we're going to use the same y coordinate for the other side, and then we're going to deal with the z fighting and see who's going to win and who's going to lose. So we'll take this y coordinate for now, and we'll use it for this chunk. Uh, okay. I grabbed the wrong thing. No, I grabbed the right thing, but I put it in the wrong spot. Okay, so what that means is that this should be fine now, but of course, two things in the same spot, you have Z fighting, or what I call Z fighting. So there you be, fam. We got problems to fix. We got problems to fix. Give me a bit, chat. Sorry. Okay, let me get back into it. So, here we are. We were working on the x coordinate, right? That's right, we were. Okay. So what x coordinate do we want to move it forward? 1, 0, 6. Yeah, there we go, there we go. So we can usually get away with making an incredibly small, nigh imperceptible adjustment like we did before, which basically keeps the textures in place but keeps them from being on top of each other. The problem is they're still kind of on top of each other. That's not good. That's not good. They need to be further out. So instead of 1, we'll add 2. And that should probably be okay until you get to about here. All right, show me. Good, right there. All right, let's try 3. How about 4? There we go. getting a different perspective on Z fighting than I would have liked. And I want to make sure that this is not introducing a lot of deviation from the mark. But fortunately, the adjustments that I've made are nowhere near enough to make things look super sketchy. It's just that when you start pointing away from an object, you're going to get Z fighting occurring. I think I'm just going to wait to see what this thing looks like when it's fully rendered, and then we'll start dealing with the texture bleeds and whatever we want to call it. But I'm not going to spend too much time freaking out about it right now. I don't want to freak out about it at all, honestly. I just want to do the best I can and get this built as quickly as I can. There's a phrase people say practice makes perfect. The truth is, practice actually makes permanent. When you're learning, how to play an instrument or, how to do anything, whether it's fold laundry, fly a plane, learn a new language, the sooner you go from not knowing anything to knowing the things that you need to know, the better, because it means that you are, what's the phrase I'm looking for? You are you are stepping through the phases required to master something. And maybe not be an absolute, professional, but know it enough to do it reliably. If you kind of stay put in one phase of your learning for a very long time, I think it becomes something that you spend a lot of time doing, like comfortably, and then you may not want to change. Like you may not want to change your habits. You may not want to change your established approaches because you are very comfortable with all the things, and you just want to do what you want to do. I don't know if that's explained very well, but that's about that's kind of like a 60-second pitch on you know trying to improve at a faster pace. Of course, the downside is that you can always try to improve so fast that you push yourself beyond your limits. So I don't know. Take what I say with a grain of salt. All right, I'm going to label these. Okay, so 7, 8, 9, and 10. Fantastic. Each of these needs to be angled correctly because each of these is going to go on the same side where I put that first X before. And then we can move them all in one shot and we can make tiny adjustments to suit. At least that's what I'd like to do. We'll see. Okay. And I'll see where I am after I get the other ones placed. I might just do the same thing really quickly across all the sides, just so I can, try to do this more quickly. Probably said that before, but yeah. The placement of all of these slabs should probably be about the same X coordinate. So we're going to grab, oh, I'm sorry, not X. I meant to say Y. So we're going to copy that Y coordinate and we're going to make sure all of these are in the same exact spot. That will place these where they need to be, and then we can play around with how close we can get them. I might stop finessing how close they are against the side of the big poles and just get them close enough so they look like they're where they need to be, because I think the more I think about it, the more I'm going to be like, oh, is it really close? Is it really close? I don't know. I don't know. And I don't think I need to think about it that hard. I don't want to. I'm not going to. So we'll grab all these in one shot. And where is the manip? Oh, great. I thought this was going to be a really out of the way place. It is, but it's in a really good spot too. So obviously I don't want to go into the metal. Okay. If I check this out, even the way they are now, me just maneuvering them into place really quickly, I just drape them on top of the metal and they're good. Again, I am not thinking about putting the rivets on so that you can actually see where they've been, drilled together. This is just what I've come up with so far. I might bring the bottom supports up so that they look better, but I'm also not worried if there's a little bit more of discrepancy between the bottom ones and the two top ones. As a matter of fact, I could almost care less. So I think I'm almost fully done here. I think so. Now I'm gonna grab, which ones do I want? So I want 4, 5, and 6 as well. Yes, I do. I'm gonna get rid of the ones on the bottom. Oh wait, hold on. I might as well start over. I want wait, no, which ones do I want? I want you, and you. Okay. And then I don't want you. I want 7, 8, 9, and 10. There we go. I'm going to duplicate all these, and then I'm going to spin them around to the other side, and then I'm going to bring the bottom ones around individually to the other two sides. And that should do it. Once I get these X's in place, that will basically drape the entire support system in a whole bunch more support than it had before, which makes me happy. And I'm not going to worry too much about, the numbers for all these. I think I'm going to move them first because I know these were all the ones that I created. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to rotate them because I want to see how they look. I want to see how they look. And I'm not going to try manipulating them here because this only seems to affect the currently selected item. I'm going to rotate them all in one shot. What I want is for them to be probably around 90 degrees. And there we go. Now I can move them all where I want them to be on the outside. And this is where it gets a little tricky, but if I'm careful, I should probably be able to put them exactly where I want them to go without too much trouble. If I ever get to the point one day where I can clearly see exactly where all of them can go because I have professionals that are helping me, lay the polygons in position, then yes, we can talk about getting within, 5 centimeters of exactly where everything's supposed to be placed. We can talk about that. But until that day comes, I'm going to be approximating, guessing, and building things as close as I can build them and being okay with less than, scientifically precise results. I'm not going to worry about stuff like that. So now I think I can number these, and I'll start from the top. All right, so we started at 10, now we're 11, Go to 12, 13. This is the non-glamorous part of scenery day, I'll tell you that right now. But this is also part of the journey. And I think for a very long time, I tried to convince myself, I don't like this. I want to do better. I want to do better faster. I want to just get to the point where I'm done. And I kind of cheated myself out of the process. And now I think I just want to, you know, think about this from a nicer perspective. I'm just trying to enjoy the process more. I really am. There's still plenty of things about this that are going to frustrate me, but at the same time, who would have thought? Who would have thought a couple of years ago? Who would have thought that I would have been doing this to create scenery for Microsoft Flight Simulator? I don't know. I don't know. And there are some talented people out there that make what I do seem like kids play. Like, let me think. Did I say that correctly? There are some folks that are so much more talented than me that this is child's play compared to what they're doing. That's what I meant to say. At the same time, I'm also grateful for the opportunity to be able to do stuff like this to begin with because I'm learning more than I have in the past. And I've had my friends tell me, I'm selling myself short. So I'm nowhere near where I could be as a professional 3D modeler, but I'm grateful I've learned as much as I have because I'm growing and I'm growing a new skill set, and stuff like that just doesn't happen. Sometimes it doesn't happen quickly. It doesn't happen easily. You have to, I guess, I don't know, commit to it. Don't exactly know what I'm trying to say, but I just know I'm trying to enjoy the process more and complain less because failure is is the path to success. You don't become successful by avoiding failure. You learn from failure and you utilize that so that your success is ultimately the result of you having learned from your mess ups. I don't know if any of this is making sense. I just know I'm trying to do the best I can to enjoy the days that I have, you know? So if you wrap up after a long day of work and you're satisfied with your results, you know, you'll sleep good knowing that you crossed the finish line. And it's kind of another thing too, like in things like, racing, for example, you would be surprised because you would think, oh, like I need to be first place all the time. Championships are sometimes won because people, drivers in particular, drivers, pit crews, whatever you want to call them, they're consistent day in and day out. It's more than just crossing the finish line in a race, for example, crossing the finish line ahead of everybody else. If we're talking about, NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula One, you have a group of people working together to produce a result. And just because they do not produce success every single time they go out there, if they have a habit of finishing in the top three every single time, then it becomes a question of, oh, these guys are doing pretty good. Like, wow, I didn't know they were doing this and that and the other thing. Like, they're they're putting it out there. So it becomes a question of, oh, like, are these guys going to succeed at X and Y? Like what's going on here? So I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I do believe that there's a habit you can establish, or there are habits you can establish where you can get better and over time become successful at what you're shooting for, what you're trying to accomplish without, not without knowing it, but without struggle. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you can get to a place where success becomes the norm and not the odd thing out. And you get there by just plugging away day after day after day after day. I used to be of the perspective that said something like, "Oh no, like like I want to be better and I want to be better now." Well, then you kind of miss out on the journey of improvement. I don't know. Maybe maybe my perspective is incorrect, but I can say that I am starting to become less and less afraid of failure as a device, as a tool for, achieving what it is I'm trying to achieve. Let me move this a bit. Can I move this? Okay, that's the wrong way to go. Let's see. Okay, so that's pretty close. So if I go 1.81, I think I think my tower's got a lot more give than I'd like it to have, but at the same time, it's pretty close otherwise. Let's do 0.6, and let's see what the impact of this is. That's pretty close. DG, I have to tell you about the future. Okay, Canuck, tell me, what did you find out? What did you find out? Do the Mets win the World Series? Do do the Astros win the World Series? Do the Yankees win the World Series? Or am I focusing on the wrong thing? Tell me, man. Tell me. It looks like FS 2024 is a full rewrite. Um, you missed. I don't know if he's still here, but you might have missed Chill Mays stopping in, and we had a really brief conversation about MSFS and what it was that was going to bring to the table. So I would be very curious to know, you know, exactly what it is that they're going to be shooting for. Uh, what I want to say as a franchise, I don't know. I don't know. Not as a franchise. I mean, what am I saying? I mean, what it is that's going to happen. You have a theory. Speak. The floor recognizes Studio Canuck. And you know what? Close enough. And this side, I think, looks good too. Got it. Mm-hmm. You also look pretty good. This looks like people put it together. I'm happy. And how about you? You are a little bit off the cuff. Snare 17, my friend. It is so good to see you in the chat. God bless you. Beacon Tower. Beacon Tower. The Beacon Tower at Plymouth Municipal. I'm building it from scratch, my friend. Also, of course, folks, my apologies for not saying anything before. If you see folks in chat like Chill Maze, Studio Canuck, or even Snare17 or Snare17, check out their channels. They may also have other channels on other platforms like YouTube. Please give them a follow. I recommend them. I think the majority of issues that plague the devs with regards to things like weather radar, weather, seasons, etc., were better off being solved with a full rewrite. I do think compatibility will be preserved, and I do think the developer tools will be expanded and improved for folks like yourself to keep doing great work. That's a relief. At least I'll take your word for it. I'm hopeful and expecting better in the future because the whole approach to seasons, I think, was of course capitalized on by Rex AccuSeasons, and by I forget who else it was that actually makes scenery, but not scenery, seasonal stuff. But yeah, there's been it's been something that's basically been in circulation for a long time. So yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, in the meantime, I'm going to keep making scenery or keep trying to make scenery. In the meantime, I'm just going to keep going. So I'm not going to worry about stuff like, like, am I going to be able to release anything in the future? Well, like, I don't know the future. So, you know, I'm not going to worry about it. As a Christian myself, I believe that God holds the future in his hands, and it's up to me to decide whether I'm going to trust him now or just be like, okay, like, I can't wait. I have to do something now. I would agree. I would agree. Here's what I saw before, and I think this is part of the issue. I was under the impression that FS 2020 was a full rewrite. What's essentially happened, however, is that FS 2020 was, what happens when you take Flight Simulator X, you strip out over 90% of its code, you rewrite it, and then you do all the things to make it look great. That's a nice idea, but you're still dealing with an old base. If you choose to start from scratch completely, it's going to take you longer, but you're going to start from a brand new platform. That may be the case, Snare, but at the same time, they did the craziest thing imaginable, or semi-crazy. They did the semi-craziest thing imaginable. They took on the reboot of a well-known franchise and they brought it to life. And look how far they've been able to get with it over the past like 2 years. If they get a chance to play the game by their rules and make it even better, who in the world knows how fantastic this can actually get in another iteration? Yeah, so Studio Connect basically said what I was thinking. Yeah, yeah. That's a good point, Canuck. You think about the companies that said, you know what, this platform isn't letting us do what we need to do. We can't wait. We have to create our product with the programming knowledge that we have now. So their stuff is like outside the sim. However it works, I don't know. Even though I'm a programmer, their stuff like works kind of like outside the sim to simulate the systems that they want to put in the plane. So they figured it out. And I think, or I guess, Asobo got to the point where it was just like, you know what? These guys have it right and we have it wrong. We got to start over. I don't know if that's the conversation that the developers had. I just know that that's the conversation that seems to be what the developers had. At least that's how I think. Um, Can we get just flat 180 degrees? Let's see. That's probably what I'm doing wrong. Stand by. Yes. Chop that fractional stuff off, please. This needs to be better. Oh, snare. I'm hearing about this for the first time too. This caught me by surprise. And I'm kind of happy it did. At the same time, it's a brand new world out there. So it's like the old statement, it is what it is. So let's see. Does that fix the problem? Not quite. Not quite. You're so close to the middle. I don't think I'm going to care. I'm not going to care. And what about you guys? You look pretty good. You probably look pretty good on both sides. Wouldn't surprise me it's a money grab. Um, that would be disappointing, but it wouldn't shock me. However, I'm willing to give Asobo the benefit of the doubt. The fact is, the developer transparency with roadmaps and published changes and the things that they've been doing, I think they've had to do stuff like that specifically because of the legacy and the hype train that Microsoft was trying to maintain with their sim for as long as they did. So I am willing to believe what I just do. I am willing to believe that they're being held to a higher standard. So maybe that's one of the reasons why they're doing what they're doing. Um, there's room on both sides of the fence. Let's be straight up. There's room on both sides of the fence for debate. It could be a money grab. It could be. I'm not at the company. I'm not the CEO. However, if I was going to make one judgment based on past experience, I think Asobo is focusing on the long play. They really want to fix all the problems in one shot and assert dominance. And I feel like this is their chance to do it. Um, is it a long bomb in terms of a football run? You know, like straight down the field, a huge pass? Yes. Is it possible for them to drop the ball? Quite possibly. But I feel like, based on how they've done so far, I feel like it's their game to win. And I think they're capable more than ever now to do it. If they're going to succeed and they're going to run with that, we're rewriting everything, that that could have the possibility of blowing the dev scene and the add-on scene wide open and giving us access to even more stuff than we thought we had before. Like if you thought some of the scripts that work, like for example with Whiskey 94, where my scenery in Virginia has a hanger that opens when you hit a button on your keyboard, you know, who knows what's going to happen in a year or a year and a half when they make the SDK so much more accessible to devs like me that we can start talking about, um, scripted events. We can start talking about things like the actual airport knowing exactly what your flight is on, say, SimBrief, and there's going to be uh, and this is where we kind of get stupid, but let me have some fun. I don't think this is possible with a new rewrite. But let's pretend it was. Let's say Studio Canuck flew from from Calgary to Edmonton in 736, and he touched down in Edmonton, and the GSX profile saw the passengers walk into the terminal, past the other gates, down to baggage claim, and they had dudes in suits with little badges that had, pretend or fakey do names, but they were actually having people interact with them, just NPCs, and it took them out to a limo. I'm not saying that's possible, but if the rewrite allows people to create a level of depth in interaction that facilitates stuff like that, then bam, that suddenly justifies Asobo rewriting the sim from the ground up. And if there's any team on the horizon that has the guts to do something like this, it has to be Asobo. Look at what they did when they didn't have experience designing simulators with MSFS. Look at what they did. I don't know, man. I mean, I may wind up eating crow in a year and a half from now, but I feel like they can do it. And I think that could blow the dev scene wide open. Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think so. And ugh, not for nothing, but when MSFS came out and Austin had a chance to sit back and take it all in, I'm not saying Austin the man, Austin's company is in whole as a whole, you know, like X-Plane 12 does do more than a little bit to push the needle forward in terms of what their simming can do. But a lot of people, wait, strike that. The people that I have seen comment about this, that's better. The people I've seen comment about this have espoused that they weren't satisfied with the degree to which X-Plane 12 is a new sim. Now, I have X-Plane 11, I have X-Plane 12, I have P3D still installed on my computer, and I have MSFS. There is an appreciable, measurable increase in performance and resource management in X-Plane 12 that did not exist in X-Plane 11. You know how I know this? Because when I streamed my stream yesterday flying X-Plane 11 and X-Plane 12, I was barely able to do anything on my desktop when X-Plane 11 was running. When 12 was running, I could do my stuff just fine. So something changed. And yes, they've added new features and they've done different stuff. But, you know, what's going to capture your attention more? The the modifications that somebody made to a pickup truck to tow, humongous houses or pylons, or the futuristic pickup truck sports car hybrid that shows up out of nowhere in like candy apple red and like has fireworks coming out of it. Like, people are going to gravitate to stuff that's either brand new or that comes out of nowhere. But X-Plane 12 had a chance to get a piece of the MSFS market, and based on what I've seen, they chose not to. It's their choice. However, if Asobo is thinking about doing something like this and Laminar's paying attention, then X-Plane 13 is probably going to be another rewrite. And that could present some interesting competition, especially if they implement a whole bunch of things that they weren't able to get around to with 12 that they're thinking about, but they couldn't be vocal about. Oh no, please. No, 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 no. Please don't say that. Please don't say that. Please don't say that. Please don't let FS 2024 be a single core dependent. Please. If they're gonna, that has the potential to really just make everything sour. If they're going to do a complete rewrite of everything, but they're not going to, and they're not going to, and they're not going to rewrite the core processor stuff, that's no bueno. Well, I don't know. I guess that's just how it works out. Um, Let me see. What time is it now? Yeah, yeah, it's about that time. Folks, I'm going to keep up on this beacon. It's been a very interesting adventure, and just the tiny bit of work I've done today, I feel like is making a big difference on the overall picture of what this thing's going to look like. I still, of course, have to put the thing on top, which is going to represent the actual rotating beacon. I haven't even gotten started on that yet, but we still have a little bit more to go. In terms of everything else required with this is a lot further than it was a couple of weeks ago. And I'm pleased, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this looks like when even more work is done. If you are on my Discord channel at all, um, check out check it out, because I'm going to be posting pictures. We have the technology, but not for that. Come on, please make it multi-core, please. I mean, a complete rewrite would mean, hey, let's take advantage of the multi-core processors and GPUs that are out there. Not, we're going to redo everything, but nah, it's still going to be single core dependent. That would make me go, oi. But then again, I'm just a consumer of the product and a senior developer, so what do I know? Folks, I'm going to save my changes for now. I'll probably keep working on this off stream or a little bit later tonight. In the meantime, I appreciate having you guys come aboard and say hello. I think I'm going to call it, and probably set up for a raid. Let me see who is out there that we can say hello to. Unless, of course, we don't want to and we just want to go our own ways, which is always possible. SimCaesar's flying right now. 757 Spy's flying right now. The Sky Lounge TV is on. Ukando's on. We have Stu 222. There's also Fly AAVA, which apparently is an American Airlines virtual airline. And Cool Joe, and I think that's about it. Also, my friend Bryn MWR, that's doing no mic streaming, that does flights in different versions of the sim, including P3D, who still streams P3D, believe it or not. So I don't know. Do you guys have any recommendations that you'd like to go see, spend more time with before you guys go do something else? If you don't, I'm going to make a semi-random selection. Oh, the MSFS 2024 trailer. I'll probably have to take a look at that. But yeah, there you go. Sim Caesar seems logical. Sim Caesar it is. Folks, stand by for the raid. Let's go say hello to our friend Sim Caesar. Again, folks, I wasn't planning on streaming twice this weekend, but look at that, we did. Have a great rest of your weekend and evening. Canuck, if you stream tonight, I'll probably try to duck in and say hello. This will probably be part of the conversation, I'm sure. In the meantime, everybody, like I always like to say at the end of the streams, if you want true peace, you want to know the Prince of Peace, and that is Jesus Christ. Take care, folks. Let's go say hi to Sim Caesar, and we will see ya.